Micho was very interesting. I loved Micho on winter nights when Micho was in by himself. He didn't see the music as just notes. He'd love to, weave stories around the tunes, and he'd love to have an audience. He'd love to have an audience. Even one was enough for Micho. Preferably a woman, but even if it wasn't a woman, he'd settle for a man, and he'd start telling a story about the tunes. And I think they were just imaginations he had. He just used to imagine things when he was playing. Like the Stony Steps, he played that one night and played with them, and he told me that there was a place in Lambe, a river, and there was a shallow part where people could go across the river, and that's where the tune got its name. Now, whether it ever exists or not, I don't know, but in Micho's mind, when he was playing that tune, he saw that area in his mind's eye, Somebody said to him one night that they were praising him, we listened to him all night, and they said to Micho, you play with imagination. And Micho, on the way home, with one of the local lads to give him a lift up the Castle Hill, Micho turned to him and said, did you hear what that fella said to me? And the driver said, what did he say to you? He told me I was suffering from imagination. Micho thought it was an insult, that he was on the way to the Rooney House, But the guy was actually praising the way he was playing and the way he was telling stories and weaving stories around her. So I really understood that. We visited somebody up in Kinvara then one day. He would just I'd meet Micho and we'd chat for a while. He said, any chance you give me a lift to such and such a person? Now, I would think there was some sort of something he needed to do, but there wasn't any reason for him to go there. He just wanted to go on Courge. So he landed up to a couple of people that lived up in Bog Hill, where the Bog Hill Centre is now. There's two American people living up there, and Micho just decided he was going to land on them and have a Courge. So we'd go in there and sit down and drink tea and talk. They were delighted, of course, to have the company. And we played a tune there, the bride's favourite. And Micho had a big story about the woman, the bride who was getting married, was walking through a grove, and it was all intertwined. She had to walk through a grove, and there was intertwined trees and all that made for her. That was the story he had about that. Now, I don't know where he got it from, but he always went along with the story that he would have images like that of what it was about. And it made the music somehow deeper. Then he met me one day and he said to me, Minter Malve, he often tells a very funny story. Left me in the corner, he said, would you do a job, he said, for a man with no teeth? And I said, what's the job like? And he explained to me that when he lost his teeth, he couldn't play the flute. The flute, you have to blow across the embouchure of the flute. And you need a good bit of lip control. And if you haven't got teeth, your lips are a bit too floppy. So what he was trying to get to was he saw or he heard about a thing. It was called, a man called Wheatstone invented it. And what it was like a clip that went around a flute. And on the clip, there was riveted a little piece of ivory with a chisel-like hole through it. So you could blow it like a whistle. And the chisel of air would hit the opposite side of the embouchure hole, and you get a note. So you could play the flute by just blowing like... You didn't have to make an embouchure. So I checked up the literature, and I came across a little sketch of it was about 1810. It was invented by this man called Wheatstone. And I got a bit of brass and bent it, springy brass, and you could put that in the flute, and you could just turn it around to adjust it to hit the other side perfectly. And he was playing that for a good while. He thought it was good. He was sort of he loved to be tricking around a little bit, having a bit of fun. Wasn't just about just serious music. It's called the Wheatstone embouchure invention.